With a warm greeting, I extend my warmest welcome to the talk show Education 4.0 for Safe, Sustainable Societies.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the talk show organized by Samurja Educational Society on the theme Education 4.0 for Safe, Sustainable Societies. Starting from 1991, the journey of Samurja Society from the past 30 years has been appropriately academic, exceedingly exploratory, moderately classical, and technically persistent. We express our gratitude to all those who have supported us in these 30 years, those who have motivated us, those who have inspired us, besides those who have challenged us, criticized us, and discouraged us. Each one of them have actually pushed us to take one step forward. Madam Daljit Kaur, late Shri Suraj Prakash Sir, Dr. Ashok Pandey, and Dr. Hasija deserve a special mention and ovation. Learning from pandemic felicitated us to restructure our endeavor, and the society introduced the online session to share, discuss, and support students, teachers, and school leaders, besides organizing symposium, conferences, and panel discussions. Through these series of talk shows, we are trying to understand the challenges faced in schools from the perspective of students, teachers, parents, and managements in different domains. In every episode, we invite the expert to deliberate and discuss and to guide us. The topic for today is financial management for safe, sustainable societies. Financial management does not mean getting rich and making money even when you are asleep. Finance without a strategy is just a number, and strategy without finance is just dreaming. Strategic financial management is to bring future in the present. Undoubtedly, finance is one of the most important aspects of an organization. With huge funds, daily cash flow, continuous transaction, managing and monitoring finance is the most challenging task. Actually, financial management is indispensable. It helps in improving the profitability of the organization, increases the overall value, provides economic stability, encourages employees to raise their standard of living and standard of life. As a matter of fact, managing finance is significant when it comes to making decisions. Finance is the only tool. It is it can take you to where you want to go, but it cannot make you a driver. Financial management is an important skill for safe, sustainable societies. The activities of every aspect of an organization impact its financial performance. Benjamin Franklin once said, beware of a small expense because a small leak will sink a great ship. Hence, not only the people in the leadership role or the management, rather everyone in the organization must have the substantial knowledge of financial management. Warren Buffett, one of the most famous businessmen from US, the most successful investor and philanthropist of 20th century, the founder of Berkshire Hathaway, which has 60 companies under its umbrella. In 2006, he donated 80% of his wealth to the society, society welfare, mainly for education and healthcare. His major share was given to Bill Gates Foundation. I can just see one photograph, and I would like to quote Warren Buffett. His quotes on earning: never depends on a single income, make investment to create a second source. On spending, if you buy things you do not need, soon you will have to sell things you need. On saving, he said, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. On taking risk, he said, never test the depth of the river with both your feet. On investment, he said, do not put all your eggs in one basket. And on expectations, one of my favorite, honesty is a very expensive gift. Do not expect it from the cheap people. So on earning, whatever he has said, it all referred to the financial management. To understand about the financial management, it's imperative for a society to be sustainable, and how to disrupt this ecosystem of suspicion amongst parents, teachers, school management, and government. We have with us Shri S.L. Jain Sir, Senior Vice President, Action Committee of Private Unaided School. I request Jain Sir to please extend a verbal greeting.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mishra, Dr. Mukta Mishra.
I request Monica ma'am to please welcome sir with a musical note. Jain sir is thus synonymous. He is an artist, an architect of financial management. He does not need any introduction, but this was simply a small effort by Kriti ma'am and Monica ma'am. They collated the information, and welcome sir. Besides Jain sir, we are really privileged to have with us Bhattacharya sir. I'm actually blessed to have Bhattacharya sir's blessings And it's really a great honor for me that he's present on my show. Welcome, Bhattacharya sir. And we also have with us Dr. Anirudh Gupta. Anirudh sir is the CEO of DCM Group of Schools, and they are managing many schools in North India. He has traveled 8 countries, including UK, USA. And I remember in 2011, when this young boy was with me in one of the groups in Liverpool, UK. And the last day of the visit, when he started speaking, and I actually realized that he really has substance. He's managing so many schools, a well-developed HRD department who manages the school, very structured system. And by his education, he is an environmental engineer, and he is a writer. He continuously writes in Tribune and many other things, different educational magazines. I have read his article. Welcome, Dr. Anirudh Gupta. Kindly extend a verbal greeting.
हाँ हैं अनिरुद्ध जी दिखाई नहीं दे रहे हैं.
अभी शायद disconnect होगा.
अनिरुद्ध,
Gupta, am I audible?
ऑडिबल हो,
You are
विजिबल होना
audible, but
चाहिए.
you're not
पर्दे के
visible.
बाहर आओ.
I am not visible.
No. Yes. There you are. Hi.
How are you?
हाँ अनिरुद्ध, दिन भर ऑफिस में ही बैठे रहते हो.
Oh yes.
Lovely to
Good to
see.
see you.
Lovely to, yeah.
Thank you. So kind of you. Thank you for your kind words, Dr. Mukta. It's been indeed a long time we have met and interacted. And my warm greetings to Dr. Bhattacharya, Shri Jain, and the organizers. Thank you so much, and a pleasure to meet Dr. Pandey. It's been a long time indeed.
Yes. We have been missing each other.
We are proud to have with us our mentors, Dr. Pandey and Dr. Hasija. Dr. Pandey, Director of Elcon Group of Schools, Dr. Hasija, the Director of Indraprastha Group of School. Honestly confessing, both of them, they are the trailblazers of this talk show, the genius with unparalleled intellect and wisdom, and awesome motivators, and they inspire us, not me, anybody and everybody. So I welcome both of you, sir. Welcome,
you.
Dr.
Thank you,
Pandey.
madam.
Welcome, Dr. Hasija.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm really thankful to you for such gracious introduction. Probably I don't deserve that one, but hats off to you for all your creditable talk show, which is now the talk of the town.
Thank you, sir.
Dito what Dr. Hasija said from me also.
Talk of the town now.
Yeah.
Without further delay, I invite Jain sir. Please throw some light on the financial management in schools and its scope for an individual, especially those who are associated with school education, and how the societies can be sustained through it. Over to Jain sir.
Thank you, Mukta. You have been very generous, and I feel overwhelmed by the very kind words that you all have spoken. I also feel overawed, highly motivated and inspired, but at the same time, nervous also in the presence of giants, Himalayan-like personalities like Shri Bhattacharya ji, Dr. Anirudh Gupta, my friend Dr. Ashok Pandey, Dr. Rajesh Hasija. They all have been great presenters, great speakers, great motivators. I don't fall in any way in their league, but I'll try to do whatever I can so far as this topic, safe, sustainable societies, financial management. I have made a few statements which I'll read out, and then there is a PowerPoint presentation in which we have some slides, and these slides I'll try to explain. The idea, besides the philosophy of financial management, is that how should we have our finances organized? How should we have our finance financial department organized. So, and what are the functions and what are the key areas that we need, they need to be attended to. Bhattacharya sir, right in the beginning, had said that the autonomy in finances is the real strength of any society. Because when we are talking about safe and sustainable societies, then sustainable societies can only be when they are financially strong, when they are able to meet their obligations, when they are able to plan for their goals, for their objectives. So I will come to this topic a little later, but first, when we talk of the safe, sustainable societies, in the earlier talk, Dr. Rajesh Asija spoke at length about the concept of sustainable and elaborated it in great detail in the context of technology and environment. I will limit myself to the concept of sustainability in the context of schools. Schools are continuing entities and expected to perpetuate themselves from year to year, rather decades to decades, and sustain themselves for millenniums. It cannot be overemphasized that sustainability must be accompanied by being safe for everyone. So for the schools, for the society, for the students, for the parents, for the teachers, for the growth of the country, safe and sustainable societies are a must. And for that, to my mind, the financial management is of utmost importance. Having said this, let us come to the issue of financial management in the specific context of schools. Management of finances is of utmost importance, and it is called the lifeline or the backbone of any organization. The changing world requires new ways of working, ways that are smarter, faster, and more agile. Nowhere is this more important than in finance. Fueled by rich data and ever more powerful artificial intelligence, machine learning, and analytical capabilities, finance organizations are being transformed and making more informed business decisions.
Sir, would you like to share the PPT now?
I'll just begin after. Let me make one more statement. Now, this is a statement that I'm making. Very little is invested into the systems and working of the accounts department, as well as the qualified staff to maintain the accounts and establishment of this department. Therefore, let me emphasize and suggest that all our schools must have competent and qualified accounts department, and latest methods and technology should be employed for efficiency and effectiveness of this department. Financial management may be defined as the area of function in an organization which is concerned with profitability, expenses, cash and credit, so that the organization may have the means to carry out its objectives so we can have the objectives achieved. Now, financial management is generally concerned with short-term working capital management, focusing on current assets and current liabilities. The function also entails the efficient and effective day-to-day involvement with long-term strategic financial management, that is capital structure management. Now here, what I wanted to say was that the schools which I have visited over so many years, and I have found that the schools are not investing as much as they should be in the finance department, in the accounts department. When we are visiting the schools, then I find that the schools are not doing enough so far as their accounts department is concerned, because that is a problem that we face, and no proper records are maintained, And therefore, the balance sheets and other things, etc., are also, there are problems in that. So we start with this first slide, and that is the financial management that we are starting today. And after that, if the second slide is this is the tactical level and the strategic level, and then scope of financial management. Then there is interdisciplinary nature of financial management and accounting, mathematics, psychology, financial institutes and markets, then auditing, law, taxation, foreign exchange management, derivatives and risk management, and economics. And then this actually is the main part. That is, so far as the school settings is concerned, we have certain sources of income. And these sources of income primarily come from our fees. So fees is the basic thing. That is the, how are we going to manage our fees? That is our first concern. So let us talk about fees management, then staff payroll management, and school account management. And then on this journey, let us see if we have any difficulties or any suggestions, or how should we go about. So this is how to create fees, schedule of fees, and check fee defaulters, check fees refund, and batch wise and student wise reports about fees. When we talk of fees, then actually we have to see that we are following the various rules and provisions. So these are first, the Delhi School Education Act and Rules 1973. It permits the schools to fix their fee schedule for the ensuing year, and there is no prior approval required. So 17.3 says the manager of every recognized school shall, before the commencement of each academic session, file with the director a full statement of the fees to be levied by the school during the ensuing academic session, and except with the prior approval of the director, no such school shall charge during the academic session any fee in excess of the fee specified by its manager in the said statement. Now this is in two parts. Number one is that for the next session, we can have our fee schedule prescribed by the managing committee, duly taking into account all the projected expenses and incomes. And second part is very important. If we want to increase our fees, then we must take during the mid session, during the current session, then we cannot do it without the permission of the Director of Education. So that is very important. We are absolutely autonomous. The Supreme Court judgment, TMFI, modern school judgment, and recently since 2020 and 2021, there have been a number of judgments which are giving us this particular right. Now, how we are going to utilize these funds? So there are provisions in the Act, so that also provides very healthy functioning of the department, very healthy functioning of the schools, so far as this is concerned. But one thing is, in Rule 176, it says that incomes derived from collections for specific purposes shall be spent only for that specific purpose. So the funds cannot be diverted from collected for one particular purpose to another purpose. However, Rule 177 gives us a lot of scope. uh, just a minute.
सर आप फॉरवर्ड कर रहे हैं उससे बैक
मैं
वाली स्लाइड,
जी
सर
जी
आप फॉरवर्ड कर रहे हैं
फॉरवर्ड कर रहा हूँ क्या?
जी, इसके ऑपोजिट जो की है उसको प्रेस कीजिए जी।
Sorry. Now I was at this.
सर जहां स्टार्ट स्लाइड, यस, करंट स्लाइड पे प्रेस कर दीजिए सर।
ये तो प्रेस्ड है ना?
हाँ, आप यहीं से शुरू कर दें, कोई बात।
हाँ जी, मैं यहीं से कर रहा हूँ। इसको मैं फुल स्क्रीन कर दूं। ये आ गई ना अब मुझे। Now 177, it prescribes how we can use our funds. Now this is very important for every school manager, every school head, and the chairman and the managing committees to understand, because this gives us a lot of rights. The fee shall be utilized in the first instance for meeting the pay, allowances, and other benefits admissible to the employees of the school. Having spent our money, the incomes realized through fees for paying allowances and other benefits, savings, if any, from the fees collected by such school may be utilized by its managing committee for meeting capital or contingent expenditure of the school, or for one of or more of the following educational purposes: award of scholarship to the students, establishment of any other recognized school, assisting any other school or educational institution. Now it is here that our rights are there, autonomy is there, but this autonomy is not being granted by the government, because the government says you cannot invest capital expenditure into your own school, you cannot start any other school with the money that you have collected. Now the money and the incomes that we get, these incomes are coming by accident. They are not incidental. They are not by design that we want to have 20% or 30% or 40% incomes, but it is a very prudent financial management, very systematic financial management, that some savings occur. And when these savings are occurring, then I'm again sorry. I don't know what is happening. So I'll skip, or if one of your persons can take over, then they can start the next slide.
सर आप स्टॉप शेयरिंग कर दीजिए, स्क्रीन शेयरिंग स्टॉप कर दीजिए, और जब आप कहेंगे हम चला देंगे।
राइट, नहीं अभी चला दीजिए, मैं इसको स्टॉप कर देता हूँ
जी।
इसको मैं एस्केप।
मोनिका बेटा ऑन कर, मोनिका यू रेडी? शैल आई डू इट?
Ma'am, sir needs to stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Yeah, I'll just do it.
So now you come back to that, because there is this modern school judgment that also allows that we can charge development fees to the extent of 15%, but for that we shall have to have depreciation reserve fund. Then, so this is the slide that we were talking about, and after that this is the, I think, modern school judgment that we are talking about, that it further states that development fee shall be treated as capital receipt and shall be collected only if the school maintains a depreciation reserve fund. Therefore, under section 17(3) also, we have to apply, we have to just inform the department along with our budget. So in what the department did was that earlier, before 2017, we were sending a statement of fees to be charged in the ensuing period, but the department gave us a detailed pro forma in 2017, and that is being sent to the department. So this complies with our requirements of 17.3. And this helps us in planning our expenditures and incomes in a more systematic manner. Next, please. Now, no prior approval required. Now, this is Ramjas School versus DOE. Resultantly, the impugned order dated 18 July 2017 issued by the DOE is quashed and set aside to the extent of directions 1 and 2 therein, with consequential relief to the petitioner. It is clarified that in the case of an unaided school which has been allotted land by the landowning agency, subject to the condition that prior approval of the DOE is required to be obtained before increasing its fees. So this has been quashed, that no prior permission is required. Next, please. So the school would not be required to obtain any such prior approval before increasing the fees in any ensuing academic session. The DOE would have the jurisdiction to interfere with the statement of fees only if it results in profiteering and thereby in commercialization of education and not otherwise. So two conditions, there are two tests that are provided by the courts, that either the school is engaging itself in profiteering or in commercialization of education. And if this is not proved, then the director has no say so far as the fee fixation is concerned. And so far, to the best of my knowledge, in the last 25 years that we are fighting the cases, so far as the fees is concerned, that has been, besides of course other issues, but fees has been one of the major and primary issues that is there in the court since 1997, that not a single school has been found involved in profiteering and commercialization. So the rejection by the DOE of the proposal of the petitioner's school to increase the fees during the academic session is therefore held to be illegal. Now, next, please. So how to determine school fees? Now, how to fix the school fees? On that, a lot of work has been done. And Bhattacharya ji, he is the pioneer of this. And we had done a number of workshops, but I have simplified it. You see, there is an order of 15 December 1999, and that order prescribes that fees can be charged under 4 heads: tuition fees, annual charges, development fees, and then the earmark fees. Now, how are we going to fix the fees? That I have tried to show. Please show in the next slide. In this next slide, it talks about fee fixation, and that is tuition fees. Now, this is gross salary of the teachers, including bonus, PF contribution, library book, and these academic expenses also. Now, all these expenses have been totaled for the primary classes, that is 1 to 5, middle classes, that is 6 to 10, senior secondary classes, that is 11th and 12th, and their total is done, and it is divided by the number of students. So we arrive at a reasonably correct amount of tuition fees to be charged from the students. Next, please. Then this is part 2, and that talks about the this is part B, proportionate expenses on class 4 library staff, and total of part 1 and 2 and number of students. So this is how the tuition fee is arrived at. So tuition fees has to be scientifically arrived at. It has to be spent on academic activities as well as on establishment of establishment expenses, that is salaries and related benefits to the staff. Next, please. Now, these are the annual charges. Now, on annual charges, we have so many expenses that are there, like audit fees, cleanliness, conveyance, crockery, depreciation, electricity, gardening, and many others. So these also have to be totaled and divided by the number of students. Then so far as development fees is concerned, that has been decided by the Supreme Court, and this has to be not more than 15% of the tuition fees. So there is a cap on that, and that is there. And earmarked levies are like transport, swimming pool, horse riding, or when we are taking our children to trips. So those students who are availing of those services, they only have to pay and no other student is required to pay them, and they have to be on cost basis, and separate accounts for the earmark levies has to be maintained. Next, please. So these are the heads of, on the left hand side, these are the heads of other expenses which have to be covered under annual charges. On the right hand side are the expenses of the earmark levies. Next, please. So then similarly, these are also totaled, and after dividing them by the number of students, we arrive at the figure of the annual charges. Next, please. Now, then we come to the salary management, because out of the total fees that we charge from the students, about 80%, sometimes it is more than 80%, sometimes 70%, but this is a huge share of the total recoveries, total revenues of the school that we spend on salary. And the salaries are governed under Section 10 of the Delhi School Education Act, that scales of pay and allowances, medical facilities, pension, gratuity, provident fund, and other prescribed benefits of the employees of a recognized private school shall not be less than those of the employees of the corresponding status in school run by the appropriate authority. So our salaries should be as they are there so far as the employees of the corresponding status are there in the government schools. Now here actually the government also allows, and in government schools also and elsewhere also, they allow us to appoint teachers on ad hoc basis or on contractual basis, depending on the contingencies and requirements of the school. Next, please. Now, these are stray that when we are doing our accounts, then how much of cash should we have in hand and how much of inventory should we maintain? Because as Mukta was saying right in the beginning, that how do we save our money? How do we spend our money? If we are just buying and buying and buying, then that means these things cost, everything has a cost. If the money is lying idle, or if we have huge inventories with us, then we are not able to earn on that. So if our monies are in fixed deposit and they are safe with the banks and they are earning money, then that should also be there. So there should be proper financial, economical financial management, and we should try to keep lowest inventory of cash and material. In one school I visited and I found that on the last day, 31st of March, they had 30 lakh rupees as cash, hard cash, in the books of accounts that were shown, and they couldn't explain why this huge cash was being kept in the school. Next, please. So now we come to the budgeting. What is a budget? A budget is a plan relating to a period of time expressed in quantitative terms. Budget is a financial and or quantitative statement prepared prior to a defined period of time of the policy to be pursued during that period for the purpose of attaining a given objective. So budgeting is extremely important. When we are doing our budget, we have to, it may take maybe 2 months or 1.5 months, because we have the previous year's figures with us. Now these previous year's figures have to be adjusted, keeping in mind that what is going to happen next year, what are our projections, what are our expectations, what are the expectations of the students, teachers, and how are we going to upgrade our facilities. So on the basis of keeping all these things in mind, the budget is to be prepared. And on the basis of budget, in the previous slides when we were talking about the fixation of fees, these decisions have to be taken. Next, please. Now, characteristics of a budget. A budget may be expressed in terms of quantity or money or both. A budget is prepared for a definite future period. The purpose of a budget is to implement the policies formulated by the management for attaining the given objectives. Next, please. Now, this payroll management, there are, you see how we have the heads So we have to pay them basic pay, dearness allowance, house rent allowance, transport allowance, deduction heads, ESI, Provident Fund, Voluntary Provident Fund, TDS, and other loans and advances. So for this, the pay slips have to be generated for the staff, online deposits of ESI, PF, and online deposit of TDS by 7th of every month. For this, good ERP systems are available, good softwares are available, which should be there with the schools. Next, please. Then now we talk of constituents of financial management. That is, it requires planning, directing, monitoring, organizing, and controlling. I'll start with the last, controlling. Controlling basically means that whatever is planned, whether we have achieved that standard or not. So if that is not achieved, then we must, our system should be so built that alarm bells should start ringing just when there is a deviation, and then corrective methods can be taken. So first we have to plan all our activities, then we have directional instructions, control and monitoring from the managing committee, from the manager, from the principal, but head of school is primarily responsible, and organizing how we are going to spend, and the organizing team who is going to be the accountant and people working under him, and whatever is required for the school to efficiently run the department. Next, please. Now, recently, the government has asked that all the exemptions that are available to the school under 12A, 12AA, and 1023C and Section 80G, they need to be registered under new Section 12AB to claim exemption. So last date for registration is now 31st of August 2021. So I'll request all our school managers, principals to please ensure that you comply with that. Otherwise, your earlier exemptions, earlier sanctions that have been provided to you, the rights, they will be done away with. Next, please. So we have to file returns under Section 180, and in that, besides the returns about staff and the budget estimates have to be given, final accounts, that is receipt and payment account, income and expenditure account, and balance sheet of the preceding year, and they are duly audited by the chartered accountants. They have to be sent, and the schedule of fees, fines, funds, etc. All these things have to be given. So for all these things, we must have good technology with us, and we must be technology oriented. Next, please. Next slide, please. So all these returns have to be filed, and these are the dates given here for this. So they are there. Next, please. Features of good financial management. Transparency should be there. Maximum transactions by check. No pendency of work. Zero tolerance for lapses, errors, slackness. Reliable backup and safe storage of reports. Following standard protocols. Because nowadays, actually, everyone is asking that our account should also come in the public domain. The DOE, the CBSE, and various other agencies want it, and Action Committee and other organizations, we are resisting. So, but even otherwise, under 180, we are sending these documents to the department. So, we must be very efficient. We should be doing all the work of our accounts management, our books of accounts, whether it is cash book, ledger, journal, and trial balance, and then the receipt and payment and income and expenditure account. And they should all be backed by validity through vouchers. Next, please. So that is already done. Next, please. This also has been done more or less. Next, yeah, this staff,
Already covered.
these have been. Next, these are the financial reports and the transactions. Now, so far as the financial reports are concerned, there can be a number of ratios. There can be relationships between various figures that are there, whether what is the percentage of, what is the ratio between annual charges and the tuition fees, how we are spending our development fees, how much we are saving, and so on. All these things, our reports should be available and they should be with the management so that proper decisions can be taken. Next, please. Now, here is a statement by Rajiv Gandhi, which I share, and this is in general context of education and not on this financial management, that education must be a development of the mind, the development of the personality, the development of the individual. Now, this is the primary, and secondary are the skills and income earning capabilities. Because if we are able to develop the human beings, we will be able to develop the individuals, and the skills, capacity, and earning capacity will come automatically. So our primary responsibility at schools should be towards the development of the mind, the development of the personality, and development of the individual. So these are the goals that we should strive at. Next, please. Now, thank you very much. And now if there is some kind of discussion that, as Shri Bhattacharya ji suggested right in the beginning, that he would like to have a debate and questions. So
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. If I recollect, it's only the Delhi Education Act 1973, which when I came into administration in the year 1993. So my seniors told me that consider it as a Bible. And later on, we saw this Punjab Education Act also. But these are the two states which are having their manual, right, ready with them. But whatever is being discussed, said, done in Delhi schools, that is being followed in rest of the schools. If I remember, 90% of the schools, they have scrapped the pupil fund and the PTA fund. Reason is because the government told that there should be separate account for pupil fund and PTA fund, and then they started saying that no, it's not for us, because the authority was with the parents and maybe the teachers, that a separate account was to be maintained. So Anirudh, my questions are for you. You are dealing with so many schools in North India. So how you are managing the show? And secondly, what are the challenges you are facing mainly in Punjab? I think most of your schools are in Punjab. Another point which I have noted, that the sanction of development fund is when you show the depreciation account or depreciation fund, which again 90% of the schools, they are not maintaining it. So over to Anirudh, please. Dr. Anirudh Gupta.
Thank you, Mukta. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Jain, for a very comprehensive overview of the financial management. You see, I like to draw your attention to some basic facts first. You know, India is a land of diversity. Fine. We have schools which are being run by trust, societies, corporate houses. We have government schools. We have schools being run by municipalities. In terms of volume, we have schools which are small budget schools, you know, schools being run from 4 rooms to, you know, plus schools, you know, which are almost in, say, 40 acres or whatever. So there's so much of diversity. Fine. And as such, education being a state subject, within the states, there's also a lot of diversity. Whatever Punjab Act says is different. Haryana has a different set of rules and regulations. Delhi has its own ways. Fine. So amidst all this diversity, you know, what is happening over the period of time, I see a lot of trust deficit. between the parents, the schools, the government, the media, the judiciary. Fine, because there are black sheeps everywhere. Fine, there are schools which are maintaining their finances and maintaining their accounts very meticulously to the book, and there are schools which are doing a lot of misappropriation or whatever way, embezzlement, or they're not keeping their records clear. Fine. So, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot of trust deficit. There's a lot of parental activism. What we have seen in last couple of years or last almost a decade or so, it was not there earlier. So it is all due to somewhere trickling down to the financial aspect. Fine. So it's very important for the schools, as Dr. Jain said, that we should try to maintain our finances, both the income and expenditure side, in a very, very transparent, clean, and, as per whatever, IT department or the court rulings or the education department, because we are wedded to so many people. Fine, there's not only one department ruling us. There's a labor department, there's education department, then the district administration, state government, central departments, GST. So there are a lot of things. So it's very important for any organization to self-regulate. Fine, the government has to chip in, the courts have to intervene, and no doubt, it's become an over-regulated environment. So whenever there's a discussion, there's a debate, I always tell the ministers and the people that please allow us to self-regulate ourselves. Fine, do not try to over-regulate us. So if we have to self-regulate ourselves, we have to maintain our finances on both the sides, the income side and the expenditure side. So what we have done in our institutions, we have two separate departments. The income is dealt with the finance department and the expenses side is dealt with the accounts department. Fine. When we talk about the income of the school, as we know that, we do not take any kind of capitation, or there is nothing under the table or whatever. So the entire fee is through the bank. All right. So nowadays we have all the kinds of ERP softwares, all the kind of tech platforms available to manage the fee. All right. So one is the fee management, and I will not go into details what kind of heads have to be maintained, so how the fee has to be reconciled. So every school have their own ways. Some are using POS, some are using different ways to collect the fee. So one is the fee management, which school to school differs. The amount of fee, the nature of the fee, what are the different heads, how the fee is being collected. It's a monthly or a quarterly. So let it be whatever way the best school is managing. When it comes to the accounting side, where the budgeting is involved. Fine. So how you are managing your expenses, including your payrolls, your maintenance, your expansion plans, whatever are your expenses. So it's basically income versus expenditure. Fine. And we have two separate departments. And believe me, Mukta, the way we are managing the accounts, the way we are managing the fee, because for an organization like ours, it's highly difficult for any CEO or any organization to do micro level management. What is being purchased, how much is being spent on what aspect, in which of the school, it's extremely difficult. So we have very, very stringent standard operating procedures. There are all kinds of formats available. There are all checks and measures which have been put into place so that there is no misuse of funds. Fine, everything is purchased at the lowest possible cost without compromising on the quality. Fine. So we have a very, very solid, and I will say for any organization to survive and to thrive, we are talking of sustainability. Fine. We see a lot of schools. If you just check on Google, there are thousands of schools which have closed because they have not been able to manage their finances, do a balancing act. Fine. They have generated huge loans. They have huge liabilities, and the fee has not been coming. It has the capital inflow has squeezed. So unless we do a very good financial management, that is what, we won't sustain. So for any organization to sustain, to survive and to thrive, financial management is the key. Not that, we work on a formula of penny saved is and penny earned. We have to see the priorities. We have to, sit with the team, take their proposals, set our agenda straight, look into the school development plan, allocate funds for various departments, and activate the purchase team, and if you ask me, I can go on and go on. So particularly coming to your next Punjab has a fee capping of 8%. So no school can increase the fee more than 8%. Haryana has, almost 10%, though it is not defined. UP has a different act. So this is one aspect, but I will say that it's very important for us, like as Dr. Jain just mentioned, that nowadays the government of India is also, working on various permutations, combinations, how to manage it, how to manage the societies, how to manage the, exemptions. Some schools have taken exemption under 12A, some have taken under 1023C, some are taking donations under ATG, some are not taking donations. So it's a very kind of, a very sensitive area which differ from school to school. But, again, without taking much time, I will say that, financial management is not just related to fee. It is not just about income. It is about outcome also, what kind of quality we are giving. It's about your expenses also. So when any conscious organization, it's extremely imperative, to have a structured system in place with all the standard operating procedures so that you can manage. And since the government is asking, there's a case going on in the Supreme Court which makes it mandatory for all the schools to upload their balance sheets, their income expenditure. So it's high time that all the schools, colleges, universities, they maintain their accounts well, they maintain their finances well, they get into financial restructuring if they have taken some heavy loans. And then, from the income side, it's not just the fee. There are companies who are ready to give you funds under CSR. You can raise equity. You can, ask your alumni to, help you out with certain funding. So there's lot what can be, talked about. But to all the educationists, to all the people, I think, a lot of principals come to me when I ask them that what are your strengths and weaknesses. They say we can manage everything minus finances. So for anybody who's aspiring to be a school leader, and last line is that we have started a financial literacy program in which we are ensuring 100% financial literacy for the staff as well as the students. Fine. So that's from my side.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Such elaborated, crisp. So over to Bhattacharya sir. Sir, my question to you is one which Anirudh has said. Is it that for saving a penny, we are spending dollars? Or is it the transparency not being maintained? It really pains when we are giving lakhs and lakhs to the advocates and not adding to our libraries and laboratories. Over to you, sir.
Well said. And first of all, let me congratulate Mr. S.L. Jain for presenting a very comprehensive.
Sir, a little louder, sir.
I must compliment Mr. S.L. Jain first of all for presenting a very, very comprehensive presentation on financial management of a school. We are not talking about financial management because there is a general principle of financial management which is common both for the corporate sector and schools and so on and so forth. That here at the moment we are talking about how the schools to maintain their financials. What is exactly the meaning of the financial management? In one word, I know that financial management is the optimum utilization of your financial resources. If you earn X amount of fees, how to make the utilization of fees for optimizing the goals and objectives and targets of the school or the organization. It's the most important thing for which is I mean by financial management. Here they were talking about that why we are facing lots of problems today in the court and all. We are spending a lot of money in the court, and why it is all happening, I must tell you very frankly, and one should not mind, that we are doing so well. If private schools are known for their excellence in academics and sports and games and all, we are the leaders in almost in each and every field. But unfortunately, one area we are really very weak in the financial management. We think this is my money. And once you think this is my money, then you think I can do whatever I want to do with the money. And here we come and create the problems and all. Then the schools, and do not mean it wrong, the schools are managed by some people who are managing the school with a one interest, that is the commercial interest, you are bound to be in trouble and all. When we are talking about managing a school with the purpose of providing quality education, and that is the most important objective of education, there we will be more careful also about the financial management also. Therefore, it is very important, what is the perspective of the management? Very important. Once the perspective of the management is good, and the management wants to run the school for the good of the society, for providing quality education, managing the things, everything very in a transparent manner, certainly your financial management shall also be transparent and all. And my first question, unfortunately, it is not happening. Number of schools are indulging all kinds of practices which are not right, and they are also in trouble and all. They prepare the budget, and the budget is fictitious. Because whenever you prepare the budget, it means that at the end of the year, where you prepare your accounts of income and expenditure, it has to match with the budget also. Because suppose there is a deviation by 10%, 15%, and 20%, you have shown certain heads of income, and you have shown certain heads of expenditure, you have shown some amount of expenditure under particular head of expenditure and all, and you at the end of the year, they find that you have not yet spent a single paisa, that money has been diverted for some other use and all. Here you are in trouble. These are some of the words of precaution that I would like to give to all the member schools, and especially the private schools, that today is the time that we have to become more professional. And one of the most important area of professionalism in our administration, and number two, the financial management. And when talking about the financial management, most of the things have been discussed by Mr. Anirudh Ji and by Mr. S.L. Jain Ji. The only question is now, what exactly is the meaning of transparent financial management? And if anybody wants to ask the question, I believe that Mr. S.L. Jain, even I can also answer some of the questions, and Mr. Anirudh Gupta Ji is very conversant with the management, financial management, he can also answer. One thing that also Mr. Jain talked about, that every school must have certain amount of profit. Every school must have certain amount of profit. I'm quoting from the judgment of the Supreme Court, that they say that profit is essential for the growth and sustenance of an organization. If I'm not making any profit, profit cannot be unreasonable profit. Profit cannot be without any kind of proper utilization. Because ultimately, whatever the profit I'm earning, that is for the sustenance and growth. In case suppose there is any kind of thing happening in the school, suppose there is an earthquake and the entire school building is totally devastated. Where is the money? Where you get the money? You have to create some kind of fund, so that fund can be utilized for this kind of a situation, where you can use the reserve fund for maintenance, for upgradation, for reconstruction, for innovation, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the meaning. They say that profit is a must, but profiteering is wrong. What is the difference between profit and profiteering? Again, this has been very beautifully explained by the Honorable Supreme Court. Whenever we have a profit, and profit is only for the utilization for the school only, then that profit is never wrong. Number two, the profit cannot be excessive, unreasonable. Therefore, that is also called, this money has been, there's exploitation. When you don't need the money, why you have earned the money? Why have taken the money? That is again wrong. Then what is the meaning of profiteering? Profiteering means that whenever you are using the money other than education, diverting the money for any commercial use, that is the meaning of profiteering. So therefore, these are some of the words of precaution that I would like to suggest to all the school management. Very important, Mrs. Jain has said, that this is the time that we have to strengthen our accounts department, have more capable people in the accounts department. And last but not least, very important, that since the head of the school is also responsible for managing the finances, he may not be an accountant or chartered accountant. He may not have the complete knowledge of the accounting system and all. But in today's world, a school principal is not only responsible for managing academics, she is also equally responsible for managing the whole school, including the finances. He has to have some basic knowledge of account. Only then he can give the direction to the accounts department also. But then very important, whether that power has been given to the principal at all or not. If the principal has not been given that power and he has to only sign the check or sign the paper or sign the voucher, again, it's a very difficult situation. So I believe that power of financial management to a certain extent should also be given to the principal. Number two, the school. The principal should be also taking action within the rules and regulations and policies of the school. Not that the principal can do anything and everything she wants. She will always be following the rules and regulations, the manual, the policy, the provision in the budget, and so on and so forth. But it is very important, the principal must also enjoy certain kind of autonomy in a matter of financial management. And many more things are there for discussion. We have developed a manual financial management. And this manual has been developed by the Action Committee. And anybody wants that manual free of cost, we can give that copy of the manual to the principals of the school. Let them study. Let them be more financially literate. They are all academically very good. They know about the NEP. They know about many other things, critical thinking and all sorts of things they know. Valuation system they know about. But I cannot ignore another very important, my responsibility that my finances are also under control. I have a proper sale and purchase system. I know that the education of responsibility, financial responsibility, who is going to purchase, who is the end user, who is to place the order, who is going to check the thing, who is going to see that all the cash books are properly maintained, who is going to see that there's a proper fund flow statement being prepared, who is going to see that the saving incurred, self-saving made, that saving is again being created in a form of FDR, so that FDR can be utilized for future use. So these are so many things, in fact, we can discuss today, but since we have the short lack of time, I will always suggest that this is the only subject which requires much more kind of debate. And if you want to organize one more such kind of session, yes, you can invite the questions from the principal particularly, and we can address those questions and can educate the people who are not fully conversant with the financial management. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. You have very rightly said that the accounts should be transparent, the trained people, the efficient and effective people should be appointed in the accounts department to handle, and principals should be given the autonomy to deal with certain things besides handling the academic aspects. So I sincerely request you, all the schools under the umbrella of Action Committee, under your leadership, I'm sure that they will be maintaining all these things, and or definitely Dr. Bhattacharya will devise something that at least the schools which are under Action Committee, they should...
That they say education is one where the teacher becomes principal. A physics teacher becomes a principal, a chemistry teacher becomes a principal, an accounts teacher becomes a principal.
Sir, with Jan sir, we have decided that we will be designing a program for 5 days.
Teacher with a background English literature becomes the principal of a school. Nice, right? But when he or she is promoted to post of a principal, now she is no more a principal of a particular subject. What actually meaning of the word principal is principal teacher.
Yes, sir.
The meaning of the word principal is principal teacher, head of the school, means head of the school who is responsible for academics, for discipline, for management, for PRO, for financial management, for a contact with the Department of Education. He has to be a good liaison person, a good person relation person, a good in administration, good in contact with the parents, good in also creating some kind of bond for all the stakeholders. It's a very, very complex kind of a role that today the principal has to play. It is not anymore a very simple role that head of the school means I have to manage my classes and I have to show the result. That is no more limited to that. So that's the reason that today there's so many fronts open. And because you have to face and manage all the fronts, therefore I think this is a very, very difficult task today. And we have to mentally be very, very strong.
Very true.
It must equip yourself with knowledge and information. We know how to manage the things and all. We must have common sense. All these things are very important. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Pandey, touchwood, I have not seen Alcon group of schools ever in any controversy with reference to finance. So what is your last tip to the participants again? And of course, for me, that's actually the area I really need a lot of training.
Thank you, Muktaji. I thank you especially because you always bring me at a point when I am not required to speak more than 2 or 3 sentences. So I'll try and wind up within that. But first of all, let me tell you, today we have heard the Guru of Finance, Mr. Jain, Acharya of Finance, Mr. Bhattacharya, and Siddha Purush of Finance, Mr. Anirudh. You know, so because he is the master, skillful artist of financial management, and you have heard the Guru and Acharya, and they have spoken last of the last word on it. So I'm not going to say anything. The second thing I'll tell you is that all those things which have been talked about in an hour and so, I think they all hinge on only one sentence, and that is, all of us have said that the entire money is coming from the fee of the parents. And the schools and the management, the principal, they are custodians of that money, right? And what does a custodian do? A custodian ensures that the money is utilized in the most honest, ethical manner. And that is why we repeatedly talk of transparency and accountability. But also at the same time, the responsibility is that where it is due, the money distribution is not denied and it is not frittered away on the other hand, as Mr. Bhattacharya and Mr. Jain repeatedly said, that it should not be frittered away, it should not be profiteered away also. So I think this is the basic principle. And if we keep these two things in mind, the income and expenditure will take its own course. And you talked about Alcon. I'm humbled by what you have said, but let me tell you, that is not an indicator of our good financial management. Okay, we may not have run into controversy, but that does not necessarily mean that we have managed our finances very well. So I leave it at that. Thank you very much for organizing a very, very nice session today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jain sir. Thank you, Bhattacharya sir. Thank you, Anirudh Gupta. Over to Kriti. We are already running short of time, please. Kriti ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ruchika Sukhija ma'am, for your support.
Good evening to one and all present here. It is such an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank all dignitaries. I would like to express my gratitude to all esteemed delegates of the talk show Education 4.0 for their presence and contribution to make this talk show a great success. Thank you, Mr. S.L. Jain, sir, for deliberating on the topic Financial Management for Safe, Sustainable Societies. With your expert guidance, gave us a real insight and motivate educators to design the future path. I extend my gratitude to our honorable guest, Sri S.K. Bhattacharya, sir. Sir is a veteran. His presence itself symbolizes quality. We are blessed to have you with us, sir. A big thank you for you, sir. I would like to thank Dr. Anirudh Gupta, sir, who took out time from his busy schedule to grace the event. Thank you for inspiring and encouraging us with your words on this special day. A special thanks to Dr. Ashok Pandey, sir, and Dr. Hasija, sir, for providing immense support to make the talk show successful. I extend my gratitude to the Vice President of Samurja Educational Society, Dr. Mukta Mishra, ma'am, for organizing talk shows even amidst the pandemic. I thank the Samurja team and Monica Khanduja ma'am for working hard from the past few days to make all talk shows successful. And my deep sense of appreciation goes to all the participants who attended the talk show with great enthusiasm. Thank you everyone once again for making it a great success. Thank you and namaskar.
Thank you, Mukta. Thank you so much.
Namaskar.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you, Anirudh.
Thank you, Pandey ji. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajesh.
Very nice.